Yo, we're going through the patch notes. Why don't you check it out? See here. 9.5 hero balance adjustment preview. Blah 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 blah. I'm skipping all the dull tech stuff. Let's just get to the meat of it. Little bit. So basically, they are adding to, looks like her 1. The caster's combat readiness is increased 50%. Damage increased 50% compared to before, so it'll be a little force now. Soul Cutter after grants the caster's skill nullifier, which she definitely did not need. Negating damage received from next attack. Damage increased 11% compared to before. You foddered her? A little bit, really? There you go. Acting as a counter for revival a little bit was highly dependent on her skill, Soul Cutter, that had her extinction effect. However, if she didn't defeat the enemy with Soul Cutter, there was a long delay before she could use that attack again. So she was considered inadequate damage dealer. Therefore, we adjusted Soul Cutter by adding a skilled nullifier buff, which absolutely does nothing to help DPS. So that her survivability would be increased and improve the performance of Snip Snip, so that it would cause more damage as well as increase combat readiness. With these changes, Lilibet can now properly carry out her role as a damage dealer. So I hope you guys got that. Now that she has skill nullifier, she's a better damage dealer. You got it? Okay. So if you're thirsty, make sure you eat your bread. I don't know why they do stuff like that. It's so weird. Alright, let it go. Let's see here. Thornbrush after. Dispels a buff now. Yay. Public Execution after. Makes them unhealable for 2 turns. Man, they really love. They're handing out skill nullifiers like candy right now. God. Let's see here. Lydica's Public Execution skill has a unique and powerful effect of decreasing combat readiness by 100%. However, this skill didn't offer much else in the ways to contain her enemies, so her effectiveness was minimal in PvP matches. With this adjustment, the unhealable debuff will be added to her skill, which 80% of healers just ignore, but okay. Public Execution, which will increase her ability to contain her enemies, also in preparation for situations when Public Execution is ineffective. Alright, here comes Bazer. Let's see. When the caster is debuffed, 75% chance to transfer 1 debuff from the caster to the enemy before inflicting a random debuff for 2 turns. I wonder what the choices are for the random debuffs. Hurricane after. 75% chance to decrease hit and attack for 2 turns. Soul Burn effect is now removed. Here. What is going on with the music? Alright, Sandstorm. Attacks all enemies with sand magic, dispel all buffs. Unbuffable before decreasing combat readiness by 30%. Soul Burn effect ignores effect resist. Baser was designed with the skill set to contain the enemy's buffs, but was only useful for teams that relied heavily on buffs. Additionally, which is every team in PvP. Well, almost every team. Additionally, his first skill, Sandwind, was difficult to utilize to its full potential regarding to the transferring of a debuff. Therefore, we redesigned Baser to inflict multiple debuffs on the enemy, which will allow him to successfully contain the opposing team. Baser's ability to contain the opponent is further improved by adding a random debuff in the skill, Sandwind, decreasing his opponent's attack via his skill Hurricane, and decreasing the opponent's combat readiness with his skill Sandstorm. Okay, sure. Why not? Base Arcana. He didn't really need a buff, which is funny, but he hasn't played that much because he's very, like, specific how you play him. You Fiend. Damage increased compared to 50% before on her Dragon Roar. That's gonna make that debuff nasty, actually. That was already a nasty debuff. It's even worse now. And dispelling all buffs and stunning for 1 turn. I'm sensing a trend here, guys. Have you sensed this trend yet? Milegate hates buffs. Yufine wasn't useful as a damage dealer after she used her skill Dragon's Charge, and her skill Dragon Roar showed little effectiveness. Therefore, Dragon's Roar's damage has been increased by 50%, higher than it was before. But the probability of inflicting the debuff Silence was also increased so that this skill can be more powerful and efficient than before. Additionally, Dragon Roar cooldown was decreased by 1 turn in order to maintain buffs, which would be beneficial in longer battles. Lastly, Dragon Charge was changed to dispel buffs, and then stun the opponent, making the skill more effective when dealing with opponents who have been granted buff immunity. Yeah, I don't like it when games purely buff around PvP, but I mean, I guess as long as we're getting buffs, that's the main thing that matters, huh? Alright, Yuna waifu, who's like almost completely worthless now. Let's see how this goes. Attacks all enemies with a drone, blah 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 blah, and increasing combat readiness of all allies except for the caster by 2%. When there are 3 less enemies, damage dealt increases. Cooldown of her 2 is now 3 turns versus 4. I know, 2%. Well, maybe if you get her going really fast with the combat readiness artifact, I don't know. Whatever. Meteor Cannon. When hit, it always results in a critical hit. So, when hit, Kin will instantly kill Yuna. That's pretty much what that says. Initially, Yuna was used as a support hero thanks to her skill upgrade, which increases attack and speed. However, it seems as her ability was lacking with only temporary buffs. And currently it is difficult to use her effectively in both short and long battles. With this adjustment, her skill homing laser will now increase not only Yuna's combat readiness, but her allies' combat readiness, improving her role as a support hero. This also increases Yuna's usefulness in longer battles since her skill upgrade has a cooldown decrease, shortening the gap between buffs. So 8%? 2% per hit? We'll see. Hopefully it'll make her useful. Araminthia. Oh, great. They gave regular Araminthia a 50% chance to stun. Wonderful. Because we don't have enough of that already. Araminthia was designed to be a mage who can both attack and provide support at the same time by inflicting a debuff burn to her opponents and granting buffs to her allies. However, she was underperforming in PvP environments since it was difficult to effectively attack with only burn and unhealable debuffs. Therefore, by adding a stun effect to her fire pillar, it now acts as a powerful containment as her first attack, while allowing a combo effect with her skill Catalyst. Also, Catalyst's skill damage has been increased so that it can be used not only for containment, but also to deal a significant amount of damage. Assassin Coley. Caster gets increased speed for a turn, damage increased 12% compared to before. Damage at stealth state is increased 9% compared to before. Holy was designed to use the stealth effect from her skill Murder to be able to continue attacking the enemy, but her first skill Ambush was not very powerful, so her effectiveness was reduced to her skill Murder. Therefore, we increased the base damage as well as damage granted when stealth due to her first attack skill, so that she can be effective even after using Murder. Murder! Additionally, the skill will grant her increased speed, so that her turn will come back quicker while stealth. Yeah, the stealth thing doesn't matter so much in PvP because everyone uses AoE heroes. So very rare that it, like, actually matters. Urgish. Damage dealt proportional to caster's max health now on his 1. 15% chance to stun on his 2. Another 50% chance to stun on his 3. Damage deal proportional to caster max health. I guess basically they're buffing all the 4-star heroes, huh? Or some 5-star heroes, base heroes. Fergus was able to utilize his passive skill in order to launch a counter-strike against his enemies, but lacked other threats. Therefore, in order to increase his effectiveness, we have made his skills deal damage proportional to his max health, as well as giving him the probability to inflict a debuff stun onto his opponents, which should help solidify his presence as a defensive hero who can create havoc for the opponent if they recklessly use AoE attack without preparing for the consequences. Additionally, we also improved his 3rd skill, Final Blow, which was too reliant on certain conditions to be activated, and he can now stun the enemy more reliably. Alright, now we're down to Armin. 100% chance to decrease hit chance for 2 turns and inflict poison for 3 turns. And now increases defense for 2 turns. Decrease damage suffered by all allies by 10% when this skill is under cooldown. Interesting. I don't think people will still use her, though. Armin's skill Flash of Light had problems being ineffective for containment and defense since the probability of hit chance occurring was unpredictable, while increased defense effect only lasted temporarily. Flash of Light's probability of decreased hit was increased to 100%. Defense 2 turns. These changes will improve Armin's survivability and containing abilities. Additionally, the skill Shield Wall will now reduce the damage that her team receives even on cooldown, so that her team will be protected just by Armin's presence alone. Or you guys could give her a taunt. Just saying. Oh, they're buffing Crozet. I actually use him. Let's see. Oh, his passive now can be activated every turn. Breakthrough is now a 4-turn cooldown, with a 75% chance to provoke instead of a decreased combat readiness. Oh no, it still has a decreased combat readiness. Okay. Arc of Protection was not a significant source of protection due to 2-turn cooldown, despite only requiring the target to be at 50%. Therefore, we reduced the cooldown. Additionally, we have also adjusted the skill Breakthrough, which now has the chance to provoke all enemies. This allows Crozet to draw attacks, maximizing the efficiency of the skill. You can one-shot Banshees. What's up, Puka? Kitty Clarissa. People didn't think Kitty Clarissa was good? Well, her ulti grants an extra turn now. Kitty Clarissa is an excellent option for removing debuffs from allies, however, there was an extremely large delay until her turn came around again. To correct this issue, we granted Kitty Clarissa additional turn after she uses her skill I'm So Cute, allowing players to choose between dispelling buffs on enemies or triggering a dual attack from an ally depending on the state of battle. Acades, they really didn't need to buff Acades, but I'll take it. Increase the target's skill cooldowns by 1. Oh well. That's actually pretty strong. For her invincibility skill, her 2. While Acades excels in healing and removing debuffs, she lacked the abilities to support allies, making her less favored when compared to other Soul Weavers. Okay. I'll take it, why not? Ooh, they're buffing Otelia. I kind of hope they do, because she has like an awesome persona / ambiance about her. Let's see. All allies receive 30% less damage from attacks that target all allies. When this effect is granted more than once, only the strongest effects applied. Exhale Powerful Darkness, decreasing combat readiness by 40%. Making enemy unable to be buffed and inflicts silence. Wow. Otelia was designed to efficiently respond to AoE attacks. However, her damage reduction passive skills was not very effective, making her difficult to use. To ensure that she can be useful in battle, with a very heavy focus on AoE attacks, we've increased the effectiveness, damage reduction, as well as allowing her skill to silence the opponent. That actually seems pretty good. Kitty Clarissa, yeah. Because Gunther wasn't buff enough. Let's see what's up with Gunther. Increased critical hit resistance by 70%. Holy shnipies, dude. Caster does not deal critical hit, but attack increases by 75%. Wow. Decreasing defense for 2 turns now. Damage is increased by 29% as compared to before. Gunther is a hero that has a major drawback for not being able to activate a critical hit. He lacked a clear role and therefore had difficulty finding his place on different teams. In order to correct this, we have given his skill veteran the ability to increase critical hit resistance so that he can stay alive and continue to suck. No, I'm kidding. And continue to hinder the enemy. And then with the ability to reduce the defense of the opposing team with his skill, Tenacious D Strike, so that he can better contribute to his team's effectiveness, ability to attack. Spez is still crying in the corner. Yeah, Euphine seems like she's gonna go top tier now. Gunther. Fergus will probably be a low force. Basar is gonna be a force. By the way, guys, there's a part 2. So let's check this out. Lifesteal Gunther. Yeah. Yeah, they might regret the Gunther one, I think. Because what do you do against him now? If he has, like, immunity, you gotta, like, dispel it and get debuffs on him. But now that they're, like, decreasing all the debuff stuff... Yeah, we'll see. Artifact balance adjustments. Justice for all. 100% chance to grant the caster a random buff for 2 turns. Oh, that'd be funny. So essentially you could have someone that has like all the buffs that it could get. That's funny. Violet Talisman. Increase attack by 10% at the beginning of each turn. Effect can stack up to 3 times, so it just makes it faster. Noble Oath. Health and defense effect. As health decreases, defense and effect resistance by up to 100% instead of 50. Pretty cray-cray. Music's being done. Let's see. Alexa's basket. 40% chance to grant increased attack greater. Yeah, greater attack's actually gonna be pretty nasty. One of you guys was saying that says as long as he has that now, he could probably one-shot most dudes in arena. We'll see. The preference level of Alexa's basket greatly declined due to the fact that we designed it poorly. I mean that it's difficult to immediately see its effects, and also the increased attack buff may overlap with other teams' buffs. The condition that increases effects to be applied at the end of the turn has been adjusted so that effects are applied at the start of the turn. This adjustment was made because the former condition did not suit thieves whose first turn is important. We also made adjustments so that a large effect is seen by changing attack to increased attack greater to compensate the risk that the skill may not activate due to probability. Speed increases for certain mage constellations. What? The majority of a mage's skill attack all enemies and nullifying them. However, for certain constellations, the basic speed is too slow when compared to other classes, causing them to be at a disadvantage during battle. Therefore, with this increase, we will close the speed gap between the different constellations to some extent. That's funny, I didn't know that they balance based on the constellations. I guess that's just basically classes. Target 3-star and higher mages whose star sign is Aries, Cancer, Leo, Scorpion, and Aquarius. So essentially, Tenebra gains 6 speed, Bazar gains 5, Ludwig gets 6. I didn't realize Ludwig was the fastest, that's funny. Luluka 5, Mercedes 5. Zerato both at 104, Cerelia at 106. Mercedes remains one of the slowest. Aether, Domino, Jaina, Carmen Rose still slow. Misty Chains at 109. Gloomy Rains at 107. I like how Dizzy's not in the buff there. Moonlight Hero Balance Adjustment Information. Nerfs. As mentioned, Hero Balance feature system improvements. We would once again give you details regarding changes to be made to 5-star Moonlight Heroes. Here we go. Attacks all enemies with mystical fire energy, increasing the caster's combat readiness by 20%. Rather than 30%. Meteor Fall. Oh, the cooldown's basically 1 extra turn. That really doesn't affect the beginning of fights. Silverblade Armenthea was able to inflict a large amount of damage to all enemies in addition to crowd control effects that no other hero could do alone with her skills. Meteor Fall and Flame Release. After this adjustment, the burn effect of Meteor Fall, which was more powerful than other AoE skills, will be reduced in strength and its cooldown will be adjusted. Also, the amount of combat readiness the caster is granted by Flame Release is decreased to make her less advantageous in longer battles. So basically, if you were thinking about using her in PvE, the joke's on you. All nerf, let's see. Looks like they reduced the combat readiness to a max of 20. This is silly. How come it was combat readiness max of 25 with 15% increments? Maybe it used to be 30. And the cooldown is now 4 turns versus 3. Al-Saison is a hero who specializes in impeding the enemy's turn and was extremely hard to counter when assigned to a defensive team. To adjust this hero, the buff Dispel effect of Cloud of Ruin will be reduced to weaken the ability, which would allow him to counter the immune effect, followed by an adjustment that involves reducing his combat readiness increments and increase the cooldown to reduce the advantage of Al-Saison had after his initial turn. Oh, because the combat readiness. Oh, so he can only dispel 1 buff now. But still, that's immunity, though. He can still get immunity. Weird. Well, whatever. Arbiter Vildred. So he lost his attack buff pretty much from his Dark Contract. Arbiter Vildred had an extremely difficult skill set to go against due to the fact that a fully charged Dark Blade could be activated without fail if the attacker did not prepare any other counter. This made the arena overly simple for those who had Arbiter Vildred, and greatly weakened the position of heroes with low health. By removing Dark Contract's passive skill, increased attack, an opponent battling Arbiter Vildred can now have more options to compose a team when facing him. Crimson Armin. Decreased damage received by allies from a critical hit is now 10%, max of 15 versus 20, max of 30. When more than 1 damage reduction effect is granted, only the strongest effect is applied. Cover all allies with an aura of Holy Spirit, granting immunity for 2 turns rather than 3. So, still pretty good, just not godlike anymore. God, look at this freaking... Not only could Crimson Armin prevent enemies from dealing damage and inflicting debuffs on her skills, but she could also greatly improve the survivability of her team, with her existence alone, to the point that it was problematic. Such a skill set was highly influential on all heroes. Or, excuse me. All heroes, but especially defensive heroes. causing battles to drag on. By decreasing the damage reduction for the skill security slate, her influence on battles will be adjusted so that other defensive heroes can be chosen for battles. Yeah. A new Moonlight Hero recall policy will be applied according to the Moonlight Hero balance adjustments that will be made. When Moonlight Heroes whose performance has been reduced due to balance adjustments is recalled, it's possible to exchange the adjusted hero with a new Moonlight Hero of the same level that was available at the start date of the recall period. If the Moonlight Hero that has been recalled has been memory imprinted, they will receive unknown slate equal to the number of memory imprints that the adjusted hero had. Man, some people that have like a bunch of the ML5s are gonna get some crazy, really exotic buffs if they just like sit down and focus on like certain skills and certain combos. Moonlight Hero recall period is scheduled to last 2 weeks after the maintenance on September 5th until September 18th. Oh, wow. When recalling Moonlight Heroes, if you wish to receive the hero you spent for memory imprint instead of the unknown slate, please send us a request at customer service. Without using the unknown slate acquired for the recall, players can send this request until the end of September. Upon submitting the application, we will review the player logs and send a hero instead of unknown slate. Please note that heroes acquired this way cannot be recalled during the recall period. Alright, so what do you guys think? You will make your MLRS 60, you need the extra penguins and gold. See what some of the comments say. Silverblade Aramintia's nerfs make her weaker in PvE more than PvP. She doesn't even need a nerf in PvP, she is countered by immunity. Yeah, but you could easily set up someone to dispel immunity. Please fix ML Ravi, her damage is weak. Guy's an idiot. Silverblade Aramintia nerf is way too harsh. With the normal Aramintia buff, she's not even as good as her ML counterpart. Or non-ML counterpart. La la la. What is that? By decreasing the damage reduction for the skill security slate, her influence on battle will be adjusted so that other defensive heroes can be chosen for battle, Crimson Armin. If this is the case, then why the hell do you want to destroy her S3-2 and make her useless in all ways? And this fake nerfed ML Vildred, good job making not so lucky players bleep harder, disappointed. Can everyone has ML unit get the recall for fairness sakes? It's a goddamn selector. Who wouldn't want to select what they want? At least be fair now. I wish my Dark Corvus get nerfed. Yeah, this guy wants a free ML selector. I've said it before and I will say it again. SPR is already out of the meta. All you're doing is destroying her for the few people who love to use her in PvE. Please rethink the nerf. The hell saying MLR is out of the meta? This guy's like really into it, it's funny. This is too much. All your nerfs and buffs, F all it up. Don't make C-Arm and S2 worse than Adamite Shield, please. You're killing the wall tank team comp. Good. I hate that comp. At least buff Adamant Shield to 18% to make her S2 even with Adamant Shield crit damage reduction. As for Arbiter Vildred nerf, you should keep the attack buff, but nerf the focus game for full focus to only gain 2 focus so we can build him differently like Bruiser A Vildred. to make him survive until he gained 3 focus, and when he dies, he will be powerful enough to kill squishy enemies if the enemy is not prepared. This recall system is telling us never to merge our MLs because once they nerf them, you say goodbye to your dupes. RIP Emma you will be missed. Yeah, I think that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but okay. You know, can I just have a recall regardless whether or not, because I have people, because I got Dark Corvus and you guys did not even buff him. Why does everyone want a beef free one? ML Bar, a 5-star Moonlight is the only use for Dispel attack buff. Thanks, Smilegate. Please rethink nerfs on Emma Araminthia, or at least make the CR gain 25% and give her one consistent burn on her 3 instead of 2-star 50%. Out of the nerfed ML heroes, she was the weakest, yet she suffered the biggest nerf. These are all great changes, a nice step forward in my opinion. There are a couple units I'd also like to point out could use some buffs right now. Charles. Charles does not need a buff. This guy's high. Charles, in my opinion, simply needed the extra skilling from defense to go together with his skill multipliers, and he'd be much better already. Right now, what I struggle the most whenever I slot Charles is making his damage relevant without giving up his utility or survivability. If I want to build him to dish out nice damage on his counters, he usually end up very squishy, especially if I try to keep some effectiveness for dispelling buffs. If I build him focusing utility, faster and tankier, he is a non-threat that you can mostly ignore throughout the whole encounter. A simple defensive scaling would allow us to use defensive rings, possibly boots, as well pure counter build instead of attack ones to focus on getting damage solely via crit and crit damage, all the while making him that much more doable due to scaling from defense. This guy's high. Does he not know how to build Charles? Charles is so easy to build. What's up, Wrath? Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Anyways, y'all, so those are the balanced notes, etc. And that's it for me, so we'll catch you later on.